and older parentheses or their kids.
Yeah, exactly. So that like I did this thinking it was for the senior, and then they, wisely said, I think, a lot of seniors won't spend the hour reading it, even if they have the time, they're just not that interested. So, but the kids are because the kids are often in more pain dealing with all the problems and headaches and stuff like that. So we can completely rebrand it and it's easy to do. And but you're kind of seeing version two based on a few edits that we've had a chance to already mess around with. Let's see, today's a CLA call. I'm going to do something. I just posted up an interview I had with Andy Zemon um, into the general chat. So, it's a 30-minute quick interview. And I thought it was cool because when we got to the end, we were talking about, I said, what's a tactic or strategy that's working really well for you? He had over 30 leads from financial advisors last month. And so when I heard that, I was like, gosh, this guy's doing a good job. And then, of course, when I talked to him, I found out he had read the book and was a Bar Smart software user and was using a lot of the stuff from back in the day. So I didn't know him personally, but he was featured recently in one of Amir's events as someone who's going out and getting out of the box and going out and calling on financial advisors. And I'll give you kind of a summary, but I wanted to talk about in the context of CLA and stuff, something he's doing, and obviously something that you can do as well. And as usual, we'll show in a couple different things. So I'm gonna bring up the deck, and I'm gonna start with the PowerPoint itself, just as a conceptual idea. I simply put in his Facebook link in ChatGPT and said, design a 30-minute interview for me for this person. And I gave it one prompt based on his current work with financial advisors. And it built this presentation. And these were the questions that I went and used throughout the presentation. So we're going to go through the presentation, but I like to meta communicate at different levels. If you have a realtor, you're going out to see a financial advisor, all you got to do is paste their link in and tell it what you're going to see them about, and it can go out and do research and bring information back and stuff like that. That's pretty interesting. I then, after our interview, I said he uses a particular strategy to engage financial advisors, and he teaches advisors how he works with their clients on refinances. And it builds trust and it's really engaging. So we're going to go through that today. But let me give you kind of the too long don't read of it is he only has two financial advisory firms that he built a relationship with. Both of them came through existing clients where he simply asked the client, is there anyone else that I should share what we're doing with? Think of it as like the advisor success team. But his simple question with every client that he works with is, now that we're doing this purchase, now that we're doing this refi, whatever, is there anyone else that might want to know about what we're working on together? And some people say, my financial advisor might be interested in this. And then he's like, great, is it okay if I reach out to them and share with them what we're doing? So it's a super simple version, right, of the wealth team, except he's really fishing for advisors. He's just asking. And what's fascinating is he's had two clients that have said yes that led to two firms. They each have about 6, 7 advisors. So a total of, he said, 12 financial advisors to 13 advisors at the two firms. And those two firms consistently send him 15 opportunities a month. And last month he had over 30, right? Why? Because rates are coming down and other things are starting to happen. So very important. Feel free to listen to the conversation that's up now, but and it's just I want you to hear it because you don't have to find 5 or 10. And his mix was 35% existing client, about 30% realtor, about 25% financial advisor. From those two groups make up a quarter of his total business. And then what he called random people just walk in the door, find him on the web. That's 5 to 10% each month. Okay. So, but our conversation was just a little bit about those questions that I showed you a second ago. And what I want to do is I want to talk about, I asked him, I said, what do you find is really important? What's the one thing that advisors value? And he said, trust, right? That they trust you and that relationship. And the other thing that we talked about that's really important, because I want to get into the CLA concept behind this, is if you're used to working with realtors, right? Realtors don't care. The only reason they're working with you is because the client can't pay cash. And if they could pay cash, they probably wouldn't refer to you. And if they do refer to you, they don't collaborate with you. They just want to know, what is this damn thing going to close, and am I going to get my commission? He said the thing that he learned when he started working with financial advisors was that they value most the collaboration. Your willingness to say, I'm going to let you know what I'm doing. We're going to have a discussion about it. I'm going to update you when it makes sense. So he said it was weird at first, but I realize now that's the thing they value the most. And so when I'm reaching out to an advisor based on a client referral, I'm saying this is what I would do with any of my clients, right? I'm going to collaborate with them, and I'm going to collaborate with other professionals. And what's happened is those advisors he's called on have never had someone, right, that had that willingness and ability to actually collaborate with them and talk about stuff. He also shared one other thing that, again, I just want to punctuate as it relates to this, is that he's found that, and I've shared this with you in different ways, financial advisors think they're experts, right? But when it comes to things like mortgage lending and liability and stuff, they know next to nothing. The problem with that is they don't want their clients to know that, and they certainly don't want you to know that. So he said he's learned that just when he's talking to these guys and gals, he just simply says, I know you already know this, but rates just did the following. Or I know you probably already know this, but reverse mortgages can be used in a really, strategic way with clients who need this. And he said that little thing, two things happen. Either they say, actually, I didn't know that, because you kind of set the stage for the advisor to what? Opt in. Or they say nothing and they just nod. But by doing that, it allows them to what? Learn something without exposing that they don't know it. And a lot of them don't know anything about any of this stuff. And that's the reason they don't refer, because they're afraid what? They're going to be embarrassed. They're not going to know what the hell's going on, et cetera, et cetera. So it was another, just a really cool takeaway of just, it's a subtle thing, but to me, subtle things are like lightning bug and lightning bolt. They're very close, but they're very different if you experience them directly, right? So for you, just when you're talking to someone, maybe practicing that, I know you know this, but this new thing just happened, right? And then let them decide if they want to say, no, I had no idea. That's interesting. I didn't, or, okay, cool. That's good. It's good, right? So let them be kind of the hero for their client's journey. All right, we'll stop there for a second, see if you have any questions or thoughts, and I'm going to tell you what we talked about, which was his big sort of icebreaker with how he got financial advisors to trust him and engage with him. Any questions? I always hate for these to be completely lecture oriented. All right.
I've seen some stuff on him before. He did a podcast with Dave Savage last year, and
Dick?
he does these elicitation selling techniques from the FBI. That podcast is a really cool one to watch if you guys ever. I can dump it in the chat,
What
but I
is that?
actually
I haven't even heard of it. What is elicitation?
it's like I pulled it up in my GPT. I'm trying to find it real quick because I thought you might ask me that.
Oh, I like to learn stuff too, man.
I'll dump it in there, but it's kind of like it's doing kind of an assumptive thing of your clients would never do this, right? And
Okay.
you kind of walk them into a trap, and they're like, your clients would never like liquidate funds to pay for this or that, right? And they go, no, actually, my clients do that.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Well,
So that's what he's
yeah,
doing there. Yeah. So it's like your clients would never prepay a 4% mortgage rate and not pay off their credit card debt, right? So you're kind of
yeah,
you're kind of creating a hook for them to jump in and engage with you and talk about it. All right, I like it.
yeah.
Uh,
He said that that's one of his big things to kind of hook him with like three or four of those. I'll dump it in the chat, but when I heard that with Dave Savage, I was like, dude, this guy's he's wicked. This is
yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's great. And he's inside of a bank. He's like, he doesn't have. We talked before we did our little call. He's like, I have not the best rates. I don't have that many products because I'm inside of a mortgage bank. He said, I want to quit the mortgage industry every 3 to 4 years, and I talk myself off the rails, and I stay in it, and then I learn something, and then I get excited again, and my business grows, and then I want to quit again. It's like he's like, I've been through the cycle now 4 or 5 times. I'm like, dude, I totally get it, man. Totally get it.
He has a
Um,
lot of wicked systems. He used to coach for Bonzo,
no,
and
really.
he would do a monthly 1 hour coaching for them
Huh.
and show some of the things that he did and the retention things he was doing and pre-qualification things he did. Has a lot of great stuff.
Dang. Okay. Cool. Well, that's good to know. I'm gonna try to get him into the community. I actually showed him a little bit of our stuff, and he couldn't believe it. Because he was explaining how he was trying to explain some of the concepts. I was like, dude, we got stories for that, man. We got stuff that'll do that. But I asked him for the most strategic thing that he finds helps to engage both clients and advisors. Like, how's he, earning trust? And he calls this the three-step test. He said that for him, most of his referrals that come from financial advisors are refinance in nature. There's some kind of a refinance, restructuring, cash out, lowering rates, coming up with a plan to accelerate and pay off in the future. They're already trying to pay down the debt, whatever. And then the other stuff is like high net worth, really high net worth type clients that are thinking about, vacation properties and, stuff like that. So he said, I needed a system to talk about refinancing. So he calls it the three-step test. And he said, step one is tell me how long you're going to be in this house to the best of your knowledge. Simple question, but he said this process, maybe it's the same kind of system that you're talking about otherwise, is I want them to feel like they're qualifying themselves for the transaction, and I'm going to use their answers. In this case, how long do you think you'll be in the house? They go probably another year. He's like, okay, let's just stop right there. There's really there's no situation I can imagine other than avoiding a bankruptcy or something like that, where you're going to have any reason to want to do this. Let's just stop right there. But what he's found is 99% of the time, most people think they're going to be in a house for what? At least
5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years. They're not like, they wouldn't be having this conversation with you if they weren't. But from his experience doing hundreds and hundreds of these, almost every break even he's ever run is under 24 months. So by saying, how long are you going to be in this house? This is the most important first question. And they say probably 5 more years. He then affirms them and says, okay, step one, we're probably good. And then he tells them, because there's two types of break evens. And this is funny stuff. It's like someone telling you a joke that you told him, years ago. He's like, one is the cash flow strategy with like the holiday where you get to skip the payment and stuff. And I'm like, I've heard of that. So what he's doing is saying the most aggressive way is just look at it from a cash flow standpoint and we'll calculate your break even there. And that's usually what? It's going to be fast. It's usually less than a year. And we're gonna play. I'm gonna bounce over the calculators in a minute with each of these steps. But then he says the second way that you want to look at it is from an economic or wealth benefit standpoint, right? Because that's going to probably be a little longer. But either way, if both of those numbers are under the what? The 5 year you just gave me, then we did what together? We accomplished
decision together.
It's clear, man. It's like clear. This makes sense, and we should look at moving forward. Okay. Now, what was cool about this? He's like, this is my process with clients, but he goes, I then show advisors exactly what I do with my clients. In other words, he's saying, I ask them how long to be in the house. I explain to them there's two things that they need to know, and you already know this, right? But there's the cash flow break even. And then there's the economic or the wealth, the wealth break even. And I want to make sure that both of those are neat. So in other words, he's just doing the same thing he does, but he's teaching the financial advisor how he goes through this process. That's called modeling. And it's really important because the advisor doesn't know you from, Adam, right? Especially if you're building a new relationship. And I'm just going to go share screen on the other side here. Right? Is if you're able to go in now and say, step one, how long are you going to be in the house? And we go through and we model the before and the after and the cash flow and the, $3,000 deferred payment. You can say to that client, you could actually say there's 3 break evens. There's the cash flow break even, which is the 9.9 months. There's the economic break even, 16.6. And then there's the net wealth, meaning net of everything, your principal payment, your upfront cost, and your monthly savings. If we look at all 3 of those, worst case, your wealth break even is only 21 months. So if you're going to be in the house for more than 21.4 months, you're what? You're Gucci. You're going to be ahead in this particular situation. But what's really cool, from a cash flow break even standpoint, you're going to be ahead in the first year. So, of course, after our call, I showed him this, and he was like, holy cow, I've never seen anything like this. And that was fun. But you guys have this tool. We just got to match it with, again, a nice, interesting conversation. All right? That's step one. All right, I'm going to stop there for a second. Everybody tracking. So step one is what? Model it back to me. Who wants to play with me?
Step one, ask them how long how long do you see yourself living in this house?
There's no way to know, but right now we would say probably at least 6 to 7 more years.
Okay. What was the second question?
So you're basically at that point that you're saying, okay, it sounds like you're going to qualify because in my experience, everyone breaks even within the first 24 months, but there's 2 break evens that I want you to think about. So let me share this back because I know that's not fair. So there's 2 break evens that I want you to be aware of. There's the cash flow break even. That's how quickly you're going to feel like you're what? Back to break even. And then there's the wealth or the economic break even. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to calculate both of those for you. And he said he had an Excel spreadsheet and he put their stuff in for the refinance, and he would then tell them, so your cash flow break even is 12 months, your economic break even is 18 months, and you just told me what? 5 to 6 years. So that means everything after that point is what? That's free money for you. That's just guaranteed savings in your pocket. So, but this is only step 1 of 3. But what's been accomplished in the first step?
They've kind of sold themselves, and you've established some credibility to continue on this conversation, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like I'm selling you on what? You need to refinance. Let's get this thing going. You're asking questions for them to essentially say, I get it. This looks like something that's going to be good for me. So So you're saying I qualify, based on what you've told me, and you've already what? You've already said I'm gonna be break even here with this time frame. So that's really helpful. But you said there's what?
It's 3 steps.
There's 3 things we have to do what? Get through before I would say, let's do this together. So the second step, he calls it the rate cost time test. So he's essentially taking he said the 2 objections I get when I talk to people about refinancing is rate or cost. Okay, everybody, would you guys agree with that? If someone's thinking about it, most of the time it's either that's not enough of a rate, or for your closing costs, that just seems too high. We've already covered those in what? Whatever the cost is and the rate is, I've already told you what.
It works.
It works. It's gonna work for you. Now he's like, I'm going back and saying the rate cost time test is most people get confused because they think the rate is not low enough and it may not be for you, or the cost is too high and it may be too high for you. But we've already figured out that this is probably going to make sense for you as long as you're in the house for 5 or 6 years. What people don't think about is time. Okay. And I said, and of course, I'm sitting there listening to him talk about this because I've not heard this before, and his way of doing it. And he's like, he goes, they don't move forward because they're confused by the length of mortgage that they have remaining and the fact that they've got a new what? Longer term.
Like a reset, yeah.
You got a reset. And that reset bugs people and they don't know how to verbalize it. And I've said this again and again. It's the number one thing that financial advisors told me, that they were frustrated because people could never answer that question for them clearly. So he was saying I had to build this whole spreadsheet to basically show them how, if they make the same payment they're making today, what's going to happen?
You pay it down quicker.
You're solving for what? The time question. So he's setting the table and saying, you're probably focused on interest rate, and that's important. And you're probably focused on cost, and that's important. But the most important thing for you is time. Because if you're making the same payment today that you're going to make after a transaction, and you're going to own the house 6 years sooner, what's happened? You just solved for all 3.
Yeah.
You've solved for rate, you've solved for cost, and you've solved for time, which is something they don't know how to put into words. In the same way that we were saying, most people don't know how to put into words, should I prepay? Should I invest? And it's because they just don't know how to talk about it. They're not, I mean, like I don't know how to talk to a surgeon about something if I need to talk to him about that, because I don't have the vocabulary or the language. But when you've been doing this a while, you start to realize there's something here I'm not getting. This client's not moving forward for a reason. So if you just took that first question, how am I going to be in the house, Jackie? And she says 4 years. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds great, because I've not seen a break even take longer than that. Let me look at yours. Here it is. And again, you've got a very quick, easy calculator to do that. Now, second question, what's the time? And that's exactly why we did the calculator this way, to answer this question. If someone has been, out there and they've got 312 months to go, right, on their refinance transaction, and they're refinancing to a new mortgage at 6%, I can say, well, gosh, interest savings are not going to save a lot of interest, but they are going to have what? A lot of cash flow savings. But I'm still not answering the question. The question he's asking, which is what? I can see the rate, it's 6%. I can see the cost. It's $6,500. You're answering 2 of my 3 questions. What's the third question that they don't know how to ask?
How much time does it save?
What's the time equivalent? And this, and by the way, guys, this entire story is on the screen. Here's your break even, the basic economic break even. It's right here. It's 17 months. When I click this button, what happens? We now match 312 to 312. So I can say to you, I know you're concerned about the rate only going to 6%, and you're having to pay $6,500 in closing costs. But if you don't do anything, what are you paying a month right now? Oh, I'm sorry. What are you paying a month right now? $3,100. Remember, the inertia of any decision is always do nothing. Every one of you guys had to overcome the inertia of doing nothing to even end up here in this conversation right now. Because the easy thing is just to keep doing what you've always done, which is to do nothing. Just keep doing it. It's just, I'm doing it already. So the do nothing is $3,100 a month. And you're saying to them what? If you go to 6% and you're willing to pay $6,500 in closing costs, you only need to pay $2,852 a month, right? To do what? Still be debt free at the exact same time period. That means this extra $248 a month, that stays in your pocket. That means that $77,386 in cash flow savings and the $70,000 in interest savings, that's what? Over the remaining 312 months that you have this mortgage, that's net to you. I've addressed rate, I've addressed cost, and now I'm addressing time. Now, you know, we have other calculators that'll do this, but at some point, I may put a little button right here where you click that button and it just applies this extra cash flow, and then it, you know, gives you the new time number right here. Just that's an easy way to do this, because we have other things that'll do that, but this is, you know, such a cool story, because I like the fact that you could use this as a PowerPoint or as a teaching conversation with a client. But again, if you frame it this way with a financial advisor or accountant or whatever, you're doing something else that's more powerful. You're saying step 1, you qualify, okay? But based on, you know, the time you're going to be in the house, even if it's 27 months, you still qualify. And step 2, let's address the elephant in the room, the interest rate, the cost to do this. And the thing you probably don't know how to calculate or understand is the fact that you just stretched your term from 312 to 360, and you got to figure out if that's a good idea or not. Dan the man.
So how does, I mean, are they taking that 248 and just paying it on the new loan, or what are they doing? Because that 248 is the difference between 2852 and 3100, right?
The 248 is actually what's left over after. So 3100
the proposed,
is,
I can't read that. Sorry, it's 26 something.
yeah, let me, you mean make this bigger?
Got it.
Here,
Sorry.
let me make it a little bigger for you. Oops, moved it into a new card. So they're currently spending 3,100.
Got it. All right.
The
No, I'm
new
following.
mortgage is 2698. And you're saying once we do this, you're going to get the new payment of 2698, but you're going to pay 3852. And you get to do what then? You get to keep. You can have fun. You can go to the park. You can take your grandkid, whatever you want to do with that. But one option would be what? Apply that 248 towards the balance, and what's going to happen? You're going to get there
Pay
even
faster. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot faster. So cost, rate, time, you've contained and compartmentalized this conversation in a really cool way. But now he says we're only what? We're at step 2. But now I want you to, for a second, pause. If you were a financial advisor or accountant or insurance, whoever, and someone said, with each client, I'm going to take them through this. Step 1, I'm going to make sure that what? This makes sense for them based on the time they're going to be in the house because he knows that would blow this up. And then step two, I'm going to address the three main concerns: rate, cost, and time. You already know this, right, Troy? But I still go through this with every client you refer to me. So Troy's able to say, I had no idea that, I'd never even thought about this, but this makes sense. And yeah, this is the kind of stuff I want my clients to experience and go through. So you're building credibility, you're building trust, you're communicating how you're going to handle the client. You're doing that with a framework. Okay. Step three, let's decide. He calls this his trigger action based on these first two tests, if you should do something right now or if you should wait. Again, it's a lovely framework, right? Because now I've told you this makes sense for you and I've answered your objections, and now I want you to take action, but I'm actually not saying you should do this. I'm saying we got to decide if this is something you do right now or if it's something you need to wait for. And he said the do it now is simply, does everything line up right now for you in a way that makes sense for you to go ahead and do this right now? Meaning what we just showed earlier. Am I showing? Oh, I'm sorry. I got the calculator stopped, don't I? That's what happens when you. So this is your triggers based on the two tests. Is this something we do today or we wait for a trigger rate? Because the rate affects what? The cost, and it also affects the time. It affects everything. So is there enough value for you to go ahead and do this right now? And he's like, I may say, I think you should, but I need to know, do you feel like this is something you want to act on right now? And if so, what? This is your close. Let's go forward. Let's move forward. Let's do this. If they say, it's just, I'd really like to see us get 5.75, you could then go in and in the software, the calculator, you could put in 5.75 and say, if we do that, here's the difference. Is that worth waiting for? And they might go, rates could also go what? They could go shooting back up. So there's no guarantee that you get to lock, but I can guarantee you right now at 6, this is what your savings is going to be. But if you want to wait, but he said, basically it's either we do it right now or what? We agree to do it when this happens. And he said, all I'm doing is I'm closing for a yes. The yes is either yes right now or what?
Yes, tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. And it's like, if it's not yes right now, I put them in my book. He said, I've got a whole list of people right here that advisors have referred me because of this process. And when I go through this process with them and I put them in my book, I now know what? Yeah, this one just hit, this one just hit, this, and I'm calling them and saying, we can move forward. We've got the 5.75 you wanted. Let's go. I'm not reselling. I don't have to start over. I've made the sale. It's complete. Let's do it. Right. But that's it. It's a simple framework. Doesn't take, 100 different steps to get where you want to go. But I love it because it embodies all the stuff we already do. It's just his particular style over time of how he tells his story for a refi, because he doesn't have to tell a lot of purchase stories because they're also they're going to be very different. We talked about this before the call. Is like when I get a purchase transaction, it's often, do I pay cash or not? Or can I afford this right now based on interest rates for the second home? And the advisor's wanting to hear back from them on how much they would need to put down because that's coming from assets. So that's not as it's not as structured in that. But I can tell you, if you had 100 refinance referrals, this is going to be very similar. There's not a lot of change here in terms of how you would have this conversation with different people. Yes, Nick.
Hey, Todd, when he goes through and teaches his advisors this 3-step process, is he kind of doing that on like a second, third call, or is he doing that kind of that upfront initial call?
That's a great question. I didn't ask him that question. So I don't know if this is something that he does. My kind of guess is if it's a newer relationship or it's someone, although he actually told me, he said, because I actually do not call on any, because I have enough coming from these two groups that I'm actually not calling. This is just how I trained this particular group up and built the trust and the relationship. And now it's just conversations all the time. right, about things that their clients need and stuff like that, which I thought was at one level also encouraging. Some people feel like they got to call in advisory firms for the next 20 years. It's like, nah, go out and get one or two, regional, local Ameriprise, local whatever branch. And these were, by the way, one was Mass Mutual. It was a Mass Mutual office, and the other was, I forgot the name of it. I forgot the name of the group he told me. But that being said, it sounded like he was triggering like if he got an advisor referral from the client, he was reaching out to those advisors to build a new relationship. But that was the only time that he did that. Because I asked him, so are you calling on people? Are you active? He's like, no, I don't. I just ask clients if there's someone we should invite into conversation. If they say yes, I reach out to them, and that may or may not lead to a relationship. So. So anyway, that's Andy. Good conversation. And I love the fact that it just tied into two of the calculators we've been talking about recently. Of course, he's like, man, this would allow me to tell this same story in a totally different way without spreadsheets and scratch notes. So who knows? Maybe he'll end up in our community. He'd be a good person to have knocking around in here. All right, let me stop and see if you have questions, and then I'll show you some other stuff.
When you talk about time frame, when you talk about the time frame, do it now or do it when this happens, like a certain rate. Is there any offset balance that you could say, well, you could wait for that rate, but then that means another year you could be making the higher payment? And I've had people that have missed that window and then they go a whole nother year. And I'm like, well, you just lost it. Now you've paid all that much more waiting for the perfect window.
Yeah. So that's where, a good side-by-side, like you could, let me share back up here. You could come in and toggle to 5.75 and show them the difference. You could also do a quick compare, like where you're just taking side by side and showing them oh, I'm sorry, that was not the one I was thinking about. This one, just showing, okay, here's the one scenario, and then let's just say the rate is going to be, a quarter lower. Okay, well, what does that actually do? 528 versus 462. So, on an annual basis, that's, $60 or so. That's, and if rates go up a quarter, you lost it. Not only you lose it, but you lost that savings forever. Right. And so I used to use the fact that, do you know what rates are going to do tomorrow? That's the way I used to always address it. I say, what are rates going to do? I'm like, I don't know. Do you have any idea? Do you know who's going to win the Kentucky Derby? I don't know. They could go up. I can tell you they will go up and they will go down, because that's the one thing I've seen, just like the markets. They go up, they go down. I can't tell you. What I can tell you is if they go up, then we'll lose not only the savings over the next year, but we're going to lose all that savings going forward. I'll also tell you, if we do this now and they go down, I used to say, I will take care of you. We will refinance this at a lower rate in the future and lock in more profits and more gains if we can do that, right? But I think at this point, based on the time you're going to be in the house, based on the savings and stuff that we just came up with, it seems like this makes sense for you right now. So you can always do a risk reversal. Remember, if you remember the Dan Kenneman's work, people will act, what was it, 3.5 times faster and for a fear of a loss than they will for an opportunity for gain. It's just baked right in. And it's psychological, but it makes sense. A loss means I have something now and I'm losing it. I don't know this moment how upset or sad or unhappy I'd be if I lost something that I already have and I'm used to. Whereas a gain, people are like, it's better. It's like, is 3 cups of coffee better than 2 cups of coffee? It depends, right? You want to be more caffeinated? You really like coffee? So they tend to act. So when you can frame something as if we don't do this, you might lose this forever. You're losing what? The opportunity to not pay this much going forward, they will tend to move for losses faster than they'll move for gains. It's just a framework to think about. This is where I'm hoping, if everything goes well, next Thursday, we're going to roll out V1 of Linsight AI, what I'm calling Fast Calc, because one of my goals for this updated new version of the software that some of you guys know inside and out, some of you guys have never even seen before, probably. But I'm trying to make it so fast and easy and simple to do side-by-side comparisons for people that answer all these questions that you guys are that we're talking about right now. But it answers all of them. You know, the cash flow, the timing, the, you know, everything. So getting close. John was nice enough to spend some time with me on it earlier today, playing around, but we are making some progress there and hope to have a V1 out next Thursday. So I put an event on the calendar for next Thursday for people that want to come in and just we'll kind of talk about it and walk through it and do a little training and stuff like that. See Ron and Dan. Go Ron.
On the conversation you were having with following on Andy's deal.
Yep.
Just listening last week, there was a Zoom call with Tim Brahim, and he was kind of talking about the idea that, you know, those people that can't decide right now, you know, they're not locked in, or is the rates are going to go lower. It's always set up the fact that they can do a second refi, and that what would be their strike rate. Do it today, lock the burden hand in right now, and then set up a conversation that, hey, we're watching this. If we get down another 3/8 or half, I'll do it again for you, and we'll just set up a price there that you can do it at, that it's a no cost.
Gotcha. So you're basically saying, if you do this with me now and move forward, I'll do a no cost refi for you if we can get down to here at whatever rate. And so you've got that sort of set up as a target. So that's a nice kind of hybrid way to go and get somebody to take advantage with a lottery ticket that if rates really come down, you've got another opportunity to refi. And then you can just build that in, you know, to the rate, make the rate low enough, you know, where you can get your margin padded.
Yeah. So his whole thing was all about always have that next loan already identified, so that they're not even thinking about it. And when somebody else calls them, they just know that you're going to be the one calling them as soon as their strike rate hits.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Thanks. Nice share. Dan.
So switching back to that cool interactive book that I've been just wanting to dive into, but trying not to be rude and not engage here. But so is there a way to like have that branded for us, or is that something?
Yeah. So this is kind of what I'm working towards with the hyped up education pages. And this is all John's fault. John said he wanted a reverse mortgage landing.
Yes. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. So as you guys know now with these, right, you can click on any link here and it will then give you a branded version. And for those of you that were on our Linsight CMS call, which by the way, if you haven't set up your account yet, I'm going to start loading content in there in March. Just go right here to your profile page, click on marketing automation, and you'll see a login, and you need to create a new account. Sorry if I wasn't clear about that. This is a totally different system, but put your same email address in that you used for this system, and it will recognize you and sync everything with you, with your clients and stuff like that. But one of the other things I'm experimenting with, Dan, is I built an ebook generator system where we can take all these interactive books and things like that. And then when you actually click on them, so this is the back, I'm sorry, I'm showing the back end here. Let me, I'll pick on Nick since he's here. So you go in here and you'll see there's a new thing called ebook generator. And if you actually click on it, it'll download it the full book co-branded with you as my co-author on the piece. So we'll have ebooks and e-sites like this, where you can go in here and click and create your site, and it would have your picture and name and information be branded for you, but then it would have all that content stuff that you see. So they're kind of like, different ways that we can start to create different content pieces and whatnot. So it'll probably, I haven't figured out with that one, since that's a hybrid, it's not a PDF and it's not a landing page per se, like the like this is, but we'll probably, sorry, I'm trying to click too fast. We'll probably have it as just a simple education page here. And then if you did that, it would have like your contact stuff at the top and then have the website here. That's like really easy. And then version 2 would be like something that looks more like a co-authored book that you could share with people, that's interactive and you can mess around with it.
So can I buy you pizza to put this at the top of your lists for the reverse part?
Pizza. I love pizza. How'd you not like pizza, man? Yes.
I took a guess.
Actually, yeah, the way you can do that, and Chris and John have been helping with this already, is just help me get to like MVP. What's the minimum viable product 1.0? Like Chris sent me a what was it called, Chris? The 12 cardinal sins.
The dirty sins or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I went in and I had it analyze it, and it went through and changed all the language to make sure it wasn't saying the wrong thing. And then they both sent me some more feedback changes. So this weekend I'll probably mess around some more. And all I'm trying to do is get to a V1 of this that, looks good. And then I can, publish it up and you guys can start to play with it. We can continue to work on it in the background, but as long as I feel like there's enough of a minimum viable product for this one, then we can start, messing around with it.
Cool. Well, feel free to add me in on.
Yeah, well, just take the link, go through it, and just send me notes and say, hey, to me, this would be a finished, ready to go product. I want to see 3 things. Like okay. John sent me like 7 or 8 things. Chris sent me a couple things recently. So I'll just keep merging that feedback in. We'll get to an MVP. We'll publish it up again as an education page, so it's really easy for people just to share. And then I'll put it in the content management system as like either an ebook or an e-site that you can start to co-brand and send out and share.
So I just saved that link as a bookmark. Is that fine?
Yeah, that won't change right now. Once we go to production on it, like it'll probably have we'll probably come up with a domain that we like, that way we can have, and be thinking like stuff like that. The reversemortgagebook.com/Dan/Chris,
okay.
That way it'll be a domain that when they click on it, it's branded for you. Hooks you.
Thank you.
You got it. Cool. And in the last few minutes, while we're on the overactive pituitary gland thing, so our BarSmart University site, the new version is up. If you haven't gone and created an account there yet, I'll put that into the chat as well. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Basically, it's a learning management system, but what I'm doing is I'm taking everything and bringing it into like a journey-based system. So right now it has the BarSmart Expedition, the BarSmart book, and the CLA course, and I'll be bringing over the FAST training system and the mentor program, a bunch of other stuff, but it's all in one place. So all the content, everything is education, training, including like our YouTube channels. Everything's going to be here. And the beauty of this, it's all been built around search. So you can search for anything, EPR, and it tells you here it is. It's chapter 7, and you can click on it, and it takes you right to chapter 7 of the book. And there's EPR and all the explanation and an interactive journey for you to learn from and stuff like that. So my goal here, and this is the other thing I've done, I've converted the entire book into an interactive experience. So every chapter is like, you can go in there and learn the chapter in 5 minutes, just playing around with the key concepts and the ideas. They're all right in here. But if you go in here and create an account, you have the ability to basically search for any educational training content that we've done. And like I said, I'm about 30% of the content's in here. I got about another 70% to go. But the cool thing is you can start right here at the beginning of the Bar Smart Expedition, and this will be overlap for a lot of you newsletter and the calculators, but this is like for a student to go through step by step. And you'll notice there's things in here you've never seen before, like the What is Liability Management book, and then the link to some of that kind of stuff, because there's new stuff that I'm adding, the new book stuff and junk like that. So come in, play with it. It's cool because you can start, and when you come back, if you haven't been there in a week, it'll tell you exactly where to go. All you do is click resume journey. It'll always take you back to wherever you were in your journey. And then as I keep adding more stuff, there'll be more things in here. But if you only use it as a search tool, where you're like, oh gosh, what was that concept that we talked one time about, interview process. Oh, there it is. There's a CLA interview process. Oh, what's that all about? And again, you may see stuff like this where I haven't gotten all the stuff loaded, but that should be all working. And so the whole CLA, I mean, the original CLA is in here, so you can go back through anything in particular. But one of the things I've done here is you'll notice there's a thing called resources. The resources are attached, and there's a thing called discussion. So anywhere when you're learning stuff, if you see something that's interesting, just click in here and make a note, or say, I use Whisper Flow for everything. I'm like, I really like the part about the house value and wealth over time here. This would be a good thing to come back and use for future social media posts. And so you can add an unlimited number of notes about anything you're looking at. If you're watching a video, if you're reading a book chapter, if you're whatever, and all of those notes are saved. And then over here, you can actually access all of your discussions with yourself that you've had forever and ever, and you can search all your notes, right? So I wish I'd had this back originally. We did the original course, but if you go through it again, now you could actually take notes as you're going through it, and all of these notes are searchable. And I'm working on a little AI thing that actually every Friday it'll send you an update of everything you learned that week, and it'll send you an update of your notes and stuff. So anyway, and this, by the way, is also the learning system that I'm working on for us to educate our partners. So if you have a financial advisor partner or realtor partner that's really interested in learning this stuff, you can invite them using, you'll see a little thing on your side here. Here, I'll show you. I've got new people coming in. Right there, it says refer a friend. And, this gives a little credit in my economy that I'm building. But if they get this, they'll log in, they'll be underneath you, but it'll also allow them to come in. And the idea is, we can take financial advisors and realtors that we work with and actually invite them to learn this stuff. They won't earn their CLA, but I'm okay with them learning the content, because if they learn the content, they're going to be better partners for you, because they're going to find this valuable, and they're going to be like, wow, even if I don't get it, I get that you get it, which is the number one goal we have with all this stuff. If they get that you get it, they'll be rocking and rolling. Yes, Ron, and then we'll shut up because I know it's almost 3 o'clock.
Can we access this through the Circle community, or is this a separate standalone?
It's all going to be connected. I just finished this I've just got version 1 up last week. So right now, just use the link I just sent you, but I will put a link in Circle. And then a lot of this for me is I'm just trying to figure out the simplest way to tie it all together for you, so it's really easy to access everything, because I know we have a lot of stuff. This is my idea for getting 30 years of content into one place. Lensight is how I want to get every tool and marketing, everything we've ever done, in one place. And honestly, my map here is like, it's going to ultimately, there'll be the community, there'll be Lensight for everything that's tools and marketing related, and then there'll be Bar Smart University, which will be everything for content. So we'll have it all in those. The circle's just where we're all talking and doing meetings, and then calculators here and marketing here, and then content will be here. So it'll all be connected. But seriously, if you got a I just had someone ask, they had a financial advisor, and I'm like, yep, just send them a link. and I'll upgrade them into the CLA, and they can actually take the CLA course if they want to, learn this, an advisor was really curious about, liability management. I mean, if you can get an advisor that's curious enough to take the content, I don't mind them going through it. They'll become a great partner for you. Okay. Look at us. We nailed our time here. All right, Dan, send me that pizza. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.
Have a good weekend.